My name is Cheryl Whitman, and I've spent my entire life being invisible.
Tonight was supposed to change that.
I stood alone in the corner of the gallery, my fingers wrapped tightly around a glass of cheap champagne. The white walls were adorned with my restored paintings, each one a testament to countless hours of painstaking work. But the room was nearly empty, save for a few wandering art enthusiasts who barely glanced my way. My phone buzzed. Another notification. I unlocked the screen to see my family's group chat exploding with congratulations and heart emojis. For a split second, my heart leapt. Had they remembered?
But no.
It was another post about Jasper's latest touchdown. I scrolled through the messages, my stomach sinking with each one. Way to go, champ. Dad wrote. That's our boy. Mom chimed in. Even Felix, Jasper's twin, had posted a video of himself cheering from the stands. I took a long swig of champagne, wincing at its bitterness. Of course they'd forgotten. Why would tonight be any different? Excuse me, a voice said, startling me from my thoughts. Are you the artist? I turned to see an elderly woman peering at me through thick glasses. Oh, not exactly. I'm the restorer. I bring old paintings back to life. Fascinating, she said, her eyes lighting up. It must take incredible skill. I smiled, warmth spreading through my chest. It does. Each piece is like a puzzle, figuring out the original artist's technique, matching colors perfectly. Cheryl? My phone lit up with an incoming video call. Mom's face appeared on the screen, Jasper's arms slung around her shoulder. Oh, good, you picked up. We wanted to share the moment with you. Jasper just scored the winning touchdown. I forced a smile. That's great, Mom. Congratulations, Jasper. Thanks, sis. Jasper's grin was wide and carefree. Wish you could have been here. I bit back a retort. Of course, I couldn't be there. I was at my own event, the one I told them about weeks ago. So, what are you up to tonight? Mom asked, her tone casual. The elderly woman was still standing nearby, listening curiously. I took a deep breath. Actually, Mom, I'm at my art exhibit, the one I've been working on for months. Remember? There was a pause. Mom's smile faltered for just a moment.
Oh.
Right, of course. That's tonight. Yes, Mom. Tonight. Well, that's wonderful, dear, she said, her voice overly bright. I'm sure it's lovely. We'll have to stop by next time. Next time? I echoed, my voice hollow. Anyway, we should go. There's a celebration dinner for Jasper. Love you. The call ended abruptly. I stared at the blank screen, fighting back tears. Family can be difficult, the elderly woman said softly. I let out a bitter laugh. You have no idea. She patted my arm gently. Don't let their blindness dim your light, dear. Your work is extraordinary. As she walked away, I downed the rest of my champagne. The bubbles burned my throat, but it was nothing compared to the ache in my chest. I looked around the gallery, at the fruits of my labor that my own family couldn't be bothered to see. In that moment, something inside me snapped. I was done being the forgotten daughter, the invisible sister. If they couldn't see me, I'd make damn sure they felt my absence. I pulled out my phone and opened the family chat. My thumbs hovered over the keys for just a moment before I typed. Congratulations, Jasper. Hope you all enjoy the celebration.
Don't worry about me.
I won't be around to disappoint you anymore. With a deep breath, I hit send and then blocked every number. It was time to write my own story, one where I was finally the main character. The next morning, I woke with a pounding headache and a hollow feeling in my chest. My phone lay silent on the nightstand, a stark reminder of my impulsive decision. Part of me wanted to take it all back, to apologize and pretend everything was fine. But I knew I couldn't. Not this time. I dragged myself out of bed and headed to the museum, hoping work would provide a much-needed distraction. The quiet halls and familiar scent of oil paints welcomed me like an old friend. I lost myself in the delicate work of restoring a faded landscape, carefully bringing each brushstroke back to life. Excuse me, a voice interrupted my concentration. I was told I could find Cheryl Whitman here. I looked up to see a man with tousled dark hair and warm brown eyes. He held a guitar case in one hand and a crumpled flyer in the other. That's me, I said, setting down my brush. Can I help you? He grinned, extending his hand. I'm Elliot.
I saw your exhibit last night.
It was incredible. My heart skipped a beat. Someone had actually noticed. You were there? I didn't see you. I came late, he admitted. But I couldn't stop thinking about your work. The way you breathe new life into forgotten masterpieces. It's like magic. I felt a blush creeping up my cheeks. Thank you. That means a lot. Elliot's eyes sparkled with genuine enthusiasm. Your art speaks volumes. It's like you're restoring more than just the paintings. For a moment, I was speechless. No one had ever described my work that way before. Thank you, I managed. That's exactly what I try to do. He nodded, then gestured to his guitar case. I'm a musician myself. I was wondering if you'd be interested in collaborating on a project. Your visual art, my music, I think we could create something really special. I hesitated. Collaborating with a stranger seemed risky, especially given my current emotional state. But there was something about Elliot's earnest expression that made me want to trust him. I'd like that, I found myself saying. Why don't we grab coffee and discuss it? As we sat in a nearby cafe, Elliot's passion for his craft was infectious. He spoke of melodies and harmonies the way I thought about color and texture. For the first time in years, I felt truly seen and understood. So, what inspired you to become an art restorer? Elliot asked, sipping his latte. I paused, memories of childhood disappointments flooding back. I've always loved bringing beauty back into the world, I said carefully. Sometimes things get overlooked or forgotten, but that doesn't mean they're not valuable. Elliot's gaze softened. Sounds like there's a story there. I took a deep breath, surprised to find myself opening up. My family, they've never really understood my work. Or me, for that matter. Last night was supposed to be my big moment, but they couldn't even be bothered to show up. That must have hurt, Elliot said gently. I nodded, blinking back unexpected tears. It did. But you know what? I'm done letting their opinions define me. I blocked them all last night. It's time I focus on my own happiness. Elliot reached across the table, squeezing my hand. Good for you. It takes courage to stand up for yourself like that. His touch sent a jolt of electricity through me. I looked into his eyes and saw not pity, but admiration and understanding. In that moment, I felt a spark of something I hadn't experienced in a long time. Hope. As we continued talking, making plans for our collaboration, I realized that this chance meeting might be the beginning of something truly special. For the first time in years, I felt seen, appreciated, and excited about the future. Walking home that evening, I felt lighter than I had in ages. My family's absence still stung, but it no longer felt like a gaping wound. Instead, I was filled with a quiet determination. I would build a life filled with people who truly valued me, starting with Elliot. I smiled to myself, thinking of the blank canvas waiting in my studio. It was time to start painting my own masterpiece. 6 months flew by in a whirlwind of creativity and newfound happiness. Elliot and I threw ourselves into our collaboration, his music breathing life into my restored paintings in ways I never imagined possible. We'd grown close, our relationship blossoming from artistic partners to something much deeper. But reality had a way of creeping in. One chilly autumn morning, I sat at our tiny kitchen table, staring at a pile of unpaid bills. Elliot walked in, his hair tousled from sleep. "Morning beautiful," he said, kissing the top of my head. "What's wrong?" I sighed, pushing the papers towards him. "We're barely scraping by, Elliot. The museum cut my hours again and your gigs." He nodded, understanding. "I know. We'll figure it out, Cheryl. We always do." I wanted to believe him, but doubt gnawed at me. As if on cue, my phone buzzed with a notification. Against my better judgment, I checked it. It was an Instagram post from Felix. My breath caught as I saw him grinning beside a shiny new sports car, my parents beaming proudly in the background. The caption read, "Thanks for the early birthday present, Mom and Dad. You're the best." I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. They bought Felix a car for his birthday. I told Elliot, trying to mask my hurt. Meanwhile, we can barely afford groceries. Elliot's face darkened. "That's not fair, Cheryl. You work just as hard as your brothers." "Harder," I muttered. "But it doesn't matter. Nothing I do will ever be good enough for them." Elliot pulled me into a hug. "You're more than good enough. Your family just can't see it." I clung to him, fighting back tears. I thought cutting them off would make it easier. but sometimes, I still wish they could see me. Really see me. I see you, Elliot said softly, and I love every part of you. His words warmed my heart, but the ache remained. I pulled away, determination setting in. I need to confront them, once and for all. Elliot looked concerned. Are you sure? You don't owe them anything. I owe it to myself, I said firmly. I can't move forward until I face this. He nodded, understanding. Do you want me to come with you? I shook my head. No, this is something I need to do alone. The drive to my parents' house felt surreal. I hadn't been here in months, not since that disastrous night at the gallery. As I pulled into the driveway, memories flooded back. Years of feeling invisible, of striving for approval that never came. I took a deep breath and rang the doorbell. My mother answered, her surprise evident. Cheryl, what are you doing here? We need to talk, Mom, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. She hesitated, then stepped aside to let me in. Dad was in the living room, looking up from his newspaper with a frown. What's this about? He asked. I stood tall, facing them both. It's about how you've treated me my entire life. How you've always favored Jasper and Felix, no matter what I accomplished. Mom's face hardened. That's ridiculous. We love all our children equally. Do you? I challenged. Then why can't you support my dreams the way you support theirs? Why do they get lavish gifts while I struggle to make ends meet? Dad's frown deepened. Your brothers have practical careers, Cheryl. We're just trying to set you up for success. By tearing me down? I shot back. By dismissing everything I'm passionate about? We just want what's best for you, Mom insisted. That Elliot, he can't provide for you the way a husband should. Anger flared in my chest. Elliot sees me for who I am. He supports my dreams. That's worth more than any amount of money. You need someone who can support you, not another artist, Mom remarked coldly. Something inside me snapped. No, what I need is parents who love me unconditionally, who celebrate my accomplishments instead of constantly comparing me to my brothers. But I see now that I'll never have that from you. I turned to leave, my heart pounding. At the door, I paused, looking back at their stunned faces. I'm done trying to earn your approval. From now on, I'm living for myself. As I walked out, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. The road ahead might be uncertain, but for the first time in my life, I was truly free. I drove home from my parents' house in a daze, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. The confrontation had left me emotionally raw, but underneath the pain, I felt a glimmer of something new. Freedom. Elliot was waiting for me when I got home, his face etched with concern. How did it go? I collapsed into his arms, letting out a shuddering breath. It was awful. And liberating. I told him everything, Elliot. How I've felt invisible my whole life, how they've always favored the twins. He stroked my hair gently. I'm proud of you, Cheryl. That took guts. I pulled back, wiping my eyes. They didn't even try to understand. Mom actually said I need someone who can support me, not another artist. Elliot's jaw clenched. That's ridiculous. We support each other in ways that matter. I know, I said, squeezing his hand. I told them I'm done trying to earn their approval. From now on, we're living for us. A slow smile spread across Elliot's face. I like the sound of that. Over the next few weeks, we threw ourselves into our work with renewed passion. Elliot landed a regular gig at a trendy downtown bar, while I poured my emotions into a series of original paintings. It felt like we were finally gaining momentum. But just as things were looking up, reality came crashing down again. I was at the museum, carefully restoring a delicate watercolor, when my boss approached with a grim expression. Cheryl, can I speak with you in my office? My stomach dropped as I followed her. She closed the door behind us, her voice gentle but firm. I'm sorry, but we're going to have to let you go. Budget cuts, you understand. I nodded numbly, barely hearing her reassurances about references and severance pay. As I packed at my desk, my phone buzzed with a text from Jasper. Hey sis, guess what? Got promoted to head surgeon. Mom and Dad are throwing a huge party next week. You should come. I stared at the message, a bitter laugh escaping my lips. Of course. Another celebration I wasn't invited to, another reminder of the golden child I could never be. When I got home, Elliot was pacing the living room, his face pale. "Cheryl, we need to talk." "What's wrong?" I asked, dread settling in my stomach. He ran a hand through his hair. "The bar owner called. They're closing down. I'm out of a job." We stood in silence, the weight of our situation crushing down on us. No jobs, mounting bills, and a family that couldn't care less. "What are we going to do?" I whispered. Elliot pulled me close. "We'll figure it out. We always do, remember?" But as the days wore on, our optimism began to fade. We scoured job listings, took on freelance gigs, anything to make ends meet. I even swallowed my pride and called my parents, hoping they might offer some help. "I'm sorry, Cheryl," my father said, his voice cold. "But you made your choice. You can't expect us to bail you out now." I hung up, fighting back tears of frustration. That night, as Elliot and I sat at our kitchen table, surrounded by unpaid bills, I felt the walls closing in. "Maybe," I started, hating the words even as they left my mouth. "Maybe we should consider moving back to my hometown, at least until we get back on our feet." Elliot's eyes widened. "Cheryl, no. After everything your family's put you through?" "I know," I said, my voice cracking. "But what choice do we have? We're drowning here." He took my hands in his gaze intense. "We have each other. That's all we need. We'll find a way, I promise." I wanted to believe him, but doubt gnawed at me. As we went to bed that night, I stared at the ceiling, torn between my love for Elliot and the harsh realities we faced. Tomorrow, I decided. Tomorrow we'd make a plan. But as sleep finally claimed me, one thought echoed in my mind. How much longer could we hold on before everything fell apart? Despite our financial struggles, Elliot and I decided to move forward with our wedding plans. We couldn't afford much, but we were determined to celebrate our love on our own terms. The morning of the wedding, I stood in front of the mirror in Aunt Lorraine's spare bedroom, smoothing down my simple white dress. It wasn't the designer gown my mother had always envisioned for me, but it felt right. Aunt Lorraine appeared behind me, her eyes misty. "You look beautiful, Cheryl." I turned to hug her. "Thank you for everything, Aunt Lorraine. For letting us have the wedding here, for supporting us." She squeezed me tight. "That's what family is supposed to do, sweetie." A knock at the door interrupted us. To my surprise, my parents stood there, looking uncomfortable in their formal wear. "Can we come in?" Mom asked hesitantly. I nodded, steeling myself. They entered, their eyes taking in my appearance. "You look nice," Dad said awkwardly. "Thanks," I replied, the word feeling hollow. An uncomfortable silence fell. Finally, Mom spoke. "Cheryl, are you sure about this? It's not too late to reconsider." I felt my jaw clench. "Reconsider marrying the man I love?" "You know what we mean," Dad interjected. "This whole situation. The tiny wedding, Elliot's unstable career. You deserve better." "Better than what? Love? Support? Someone who sees me for who I am." I shot back. Mom sighed. "We just want you to have a secure future." "My future is with Elliot," I said firmly. "If you can't accept that, maybe you shouldn't be here." They exchanged a look, then nodded stiffly. "We'll see you at the ceremony," Dad said as they left. I took a deep breath, fighting back tears. Aunt Lorraine squeezed my shoulder. "Don't let them ruin your day, honey. This is about you and Elliot." The ceremony was small but beautiful, held in Aunt Lorraine's backyard. As I walked down the makeshift aisle, I saw Elliot beaming at me, his eyes filled with love. In that moment, all my doubts melted away. Our vows were simple but heartfelt. "Cheryl," Elliot said, his voice thick with emotion, "you've shown me what it means to truly be seen and loved. I promise to stand by you, to support your dreams, and to remind you every day how amazing you are." Tears streamed down my face as I replied, "Elliot, you've given me the strength to be myself. I promise to love you fiercely, to face whatever challenges come our way together, and to never let you forget how much you're valued." As we shared our first kiss as husband and wife, I caught sight of my parents in the small crowd. Their expressions were unreadable, a mix of resignation and something else I couldn't quite place. At the modest reception, I overheard my father talking to Jasper. "It's not what we imagined for you," he commented, glancing around the modest venue. I felt a flash of anger, but before I could respond, a familiar voice cut in. "I think it's perfect," Grandma Mabel said, appearing at my side. "It's a celebration of love, not a show of wealth." She turned to me, her eyes twinkling. "Cheryl, dear, I have something for you." From her purse, she pulled out a small velvet box. Inside was a stunning antique necklace, delicate gold filigree surrounding a deep blue sapphire. "This has been in our family for generations," Grandma Mabel explained. "I've always planned to give it to the grandchild who truly understood the value of family. That's you, Cheryl." As she fastened the necklace around my neck, I felt a wave of emotion wash over me. This was more than just a piece of jewelry. It was a symbol of acceptance and love. "Thank you, Grandma," I whispered, hugging her tightly. As the reception continued, I caught my mother eyeing the necklace with a mix of surprise and something that looked almost like jealousy. But I pushed those thoughts aside. Today wasn't about them. It was about Elliot and me and the life we were building together. As we danced under the twinkling lights, I felt a sense of peace settle over me. Whatever challenges lay ahead, we would face them together, surrounded by the people who truly loved us for who we were. 3 months after our wedding, Grandma Mabel insisted on hosting a family gathering to celebrate her 80th birthday. Despite my reservations, Elliot and I decided to attend. We hadn't seen my family since the wedding, and I hoped that time might have softened some of the tension. As we pulled up to Grandma's sprawling Victorian home, I felt a knot form in my stomach. Elliot squeezed my hand reassuringly. "We've got this," he whispered. Inside, the atmosphere was strained. My parents greeted us with forced smiles, while Jasper and Felix barely acknowledged our presence. Only Grandma Mabel seemed genuinely happy to see us, enveloping me in a warm hug. "I'm so glad you're here, dear," she said, her eyes twinkling. "I have a special announcement to make later." As the afternoon wore on, I found myself retreating to the kitchen, needing a moment away from the thinly veiled judgmental glances. To my surprise, Aunt Lorraine was there, pouring herself a generous glass of wine. "Rough day?" she asked, offering me a glass. I nodded, gratefully accepting. "I don't know why I thought things would be different." Aunt Lorraine sighed. "Family's complicated, sweetie. But remember, you're stronger than you know." Before I could respond, Grandma Mabel's voice rang out from the living room. "Everyone, gather around. I have something important to say." We filed back in, tension thick in the air. Grandma stood in the center of the room, her posture straight and proud despite her age. "As you all know, I've lived a long and blessed life," she began. "And as I've gotten older, I've been thinking about my legacy, about what truly matters." She paused, her gaze sweeping across the room before landing on me. "That's why I've decided to leave my entire estate to Cheryl." The room erupted in chaos. My parents gasped, Jasper knocked over a vase in shock, and Felix's face turned an alarming shade of red. "What?" Felix sputtered. "That's not fair. We're family too." Grandma Mabel held up a hand, silencing the room. "Cheryl has always been the one who truly understood the value of family. Not in terms of money or status, but in love, support, and understanding." She turned to me, her eyes filled with warmth. "You've always been there for me, dear, even when it wasn't easy. You've shown resilience and grace in the face of adversity. You've built a life based on love and passion, not expectations and materialism." I felt tears welling up in my eyes, overwhelmed by her words. Elliot's arm tightened around my waist, a silent pillar of support. "This is ridiculous," Jasper interjected. "She must have manipulated you somehow." Grandma's eyes flashed with anger. "I may be old, Jasper, but I'm not senile. This is my decision and it's final." My mother stepped forward, her voice trembling. "Mom, please. Think about what you're doing. Cheryl doesn't need Dash." "Doesn't need what, Evelyn?" Grandma cut her off. "The support you've never given her? The recognition of her worth that you've always denied her." The room fell silent, the weight of years of unspoken resentment hanging heavy in the air. I found my voice at last. "Grandma, I don't know what to say." "Thank you doesn't seem enough." She smiled, taking my hands in hers. "You don't need to say anything, dear. Just promise me you'll use this to build the life you've always dreamed of. The life you deserve." As I nodded, tears streaming down my face, I caught sight of my brothers. Their expressions were a mix of shock, anger, and something that looked almost like regret. My father cleared his throat. Mabel, surely we can discuss this. There must be a more equitable solution. Grandma's voice was steel. There's nothing to discuss, Martin. My mind is made up. As the reality of the situation sank in, I could feel the shift in the room. The looks directed at me changed from dismissal to barely concealed resentment. I knew that this moment, while validating, would irrevocably change my relationship with my family. Elliot's voice was low in my ear. We should go. I nodded, suddenly feeling suffocated by the tension. As we made our way to the door, Grandma Mabel's words echoed in my mind. This was more than just an inheritance. It was a chance to rewrite my story, to build a life free from the shadows of my past. But as we drove away, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of a storm that had been brewing for years. The days following Grandma Mabel's announcement were a whirlwind of emotions and tense phone calls. I'd barely had time to process the enormity of her gift when my parents demanded a family meeting at their house. As Elliot and I pulled into the driveway, I felt a sense of dread settling in my stomach. Maybe this wasn't such a good idea, I murmured. Elliot squeezed my hand. We'll face this together. Remember, you've done nothing wrong. The moment we stepped inside, the tension was palpable. My parents sat stiffly on the couch, while Jasper and Felix paced the room like caged animals. Sit down, my father commanded, his voice cold. I took a deep breath and sat, Elliot a steady presence beside me. This has to stop, Cheryl, my mother began, her voice trembling with barely contained anger. You need to renounce the inheritance. It's not fair to your brothers. I felt a flash of indignation. Not fair? When has anything ever been fair in this family? Felix slammed his hand on the coffee table. This isn't fair, Cheryl, he argued, his entitlement clear. We deserve it just as much as you. Deserve it. I shot back, years of pent-up frustration bubbling to the surface. What exactly have you done to deserve it? Besides being the golden children who could do no wrong. Jasper stepped forward, his face red. That's rich coming from you. Always playing the victim, never taking responsibility for your own failures. Failures? Elliot interjected, his voice sharp. Cheryl is incredibly talented and hardworking. Just because her success doesn't fit your narrow definition dash. Stay out of this, my father snapped. This is a family matter. I stood up, anger coursing through me. Elliot is my family, the only one who's truly supported me. My mother's eyes filled with tears. How can you say that? We've always wanted what's best for you. No, I said, my voice steady. You've always wanted what you thought was best for me. You never bothered to ask what I wanted, what would make me happy. And this makes you happy? Jasper sneered, taking advantage of Grandma's senility. I felt my hands clench into fists. How dare you? Grandma is of sound mind, and she made this decision because she sees me for who I am. Something none of you have ever bothered to do. Enough, my father roared. Cheryl, you will renounce this inheritance, or you'll no longer be welcome in this family. The room fell silent, the weight of his ultimatum hanging heavy in the air. I looked around at the faces of my family, the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally, and saw only anger, resentment, and greed. In that moment, something inside me shifted. The last threads of hope I'd been clinging to, that someday they might see me, might value me, snapped. No, I said, my voice quiet but firm. What did you say? My mother gasped. I straightened my spine, meeting each of their gazes in turn. I said no. I won't renounce the inheritance. Grandma made her decision, and I'm honoring it. Felix lunged forward, but Elliot stepped between us. Back off, he warned. You ungrateful little dash, Jasper started, but I cut him off. I'm done, I said, surprising myself with how calm I felt. I'm done trying to earn your love, your approval. I'm done dimming my light to make you comfortable. This inheritance isn't just about money. It's about recognizing my worth, something you've never been able to do. I turned to my parents, seeing the shock on their faces. You said I wouldn't be welcome in this family if I didn't renounce the inheritance. Well, let me make it easy for you. I don't want to be part of a family that only values me when I'm giving them something. I took Elliot's hand, drawing strength from his presence. We're leaving now. Don't try to contact us. As we walked out the door, I heard my mother's sobs and my father's angry shouts. But for the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. In the car, Elliot turned to me, his eyes filled with concern and pride. Are you okay? I took a deep breath, feeling lighter than I had in years. You know what? I think I am. For the first time, I'm really okay. As we drove away from my childhood home, I realized that this wasn't just an ending. It was a beginning, a chance to build a life filled with love, respect, and true family, the kind that sees you for who you really are. 2 years after the explosive confrontation with my family, Elliot and I stood hand in hand on the balcony of our new home. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow over the bustling art district below. It was a far cry from the cramped apartment we'd shared when we first got married. Can you believe it? Elliot whispered, squeezing my hand. We did it, Cheryl. We built this together. I leaned into him, feeling a sense of peace I'd never known before. It's more than I ever dreamed possible. The inheritance from Grandma Mabel had been a turning point, but it wasn't just about the money. It was the validation, the recognition of my worth that had given me the strength to pursue my passions without fear or guilt. We'd used the funds to open a small gallery, showcasing both my restored artworks and Elliot's music. It had been a risk, but one that paid off beyond our wildest expectations. People were drawn to the unique combination of visual and auditory art, and soon we'd gained a reputation as innovators in the local art scene. As we gazed out at the city, I thought about how far we'd come. The struggles, the doubts, the painful severing of toxic family ties, it had all led us here. Cheryl? Elliot's voice pulled me from my thoughts. There's something I want to show you. He led me back inside to his music room, where a canvas stood covered in the corner. With a flourish, he pulled off the cloth, revealing a stunning portrait of me. But it wasn't just me as I was now. The painting showed different versions of myself at various ages, from a wide-eyed child to the woman I'd become. Each version was emerging from shadows into light, growing stronger and more vibrant. Elliot, I gasped, tears welling in my eyes. It's beautiful, but I thought you were a musician, not a painter. He grinned sheepishly. I've been taking lessons in secret. I wanted to show you how I see you, how you've always been this incredible, resilient person, even when others couldn't see it. I threw my arms around him, overwhelmed by the love and understanding in this gesture. This was what true family meant, seeing and celebrating each other's growth, supporting each other's dreams. As we held each other, the doorbell rang. Puzzled, I went to answer it. To my shock, Aunt Lorraine stood there, looking nervous. I hope I'm not intruding, she said hesitantly. I wanted to see how you were doing. I invited her in, a mix of emotions swirling inside me. As we sat in the living room, she looked around in awe. This place is amazing, Cheryl. You've really made something beautiful here. Thank you, I said, still cautious. But why are you here, Aunt Lorraine? She sighed, her eyes filling with tears. I've been thinking a lot about family lately, about the mistakes we've made, the hurt we've caused. I wanted you to know that I'm proud of you, Cheryl, for standing up for yourself, for building this life. Her words hit me like a wave, washing away the last remnants of doubt and guilt I'd been carrying. That means a lot, Aunt Lorraine. Thank you. We talked for hours, rebuilding a relationship on new, healthier terms. As she was leaving, she paused at the door. Your parents and brothers, they're starting to realize what they've lost. They might not be ready to admit it yet, but they miss you. I nodded, feeling a twinge of sadness, but no regret. If they ever want to be part of my life again, they'll have to accept me for who I am. All of me. After she left, I found Elliot in the gallery downstairs, tuning his guitar for tomorrow's performance. He looked up as I entered, his face softening at my expression. You okay? He asked. I smiled, feeling lighter than I had in years. More than okay. I'm happy, Elliot. Truly, deeply happy. He set down his guitar and pulled me close. That's all I've ever wanted for you, love. As we stood there, surrounded by the art we'd created together, I realized that this was the family I'd always longed for. One built on love, respect, and mutual support. The road hadn't been easy, but every struggle had led me here, to this moment of pure contentment. I may have started this journey as the forgotten daughter, but I'd emerged as something far greater, A woman who had found her voice, her passion, and her true family. And that was worth more than any inheritance could ever be.